Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm going to be testing a GeForce RTX 5080 in Borderlands 4. This one is the Founders Edition model of the card. I'm running it with the latest Nvidia drivers and I'm not manually overclocking it. You can see all of its specs here in Tech Power-Ups, GPU Z, and over on the left, I'm pairing it with a Ryzen 7 9800X 3D and 32GB of RAM. Let's get into it, shall we? Alright guys, so... This is absolutely ridiculous. We're starting here with a 5080, an RTX 5080, the second best GPU Nvidia makes in their lineup, guys, and we're getting 20s. In Borderlands 4, that looks like this. Come on. I mean... Oh man, I was expecting terrible things, but honestly, I did not expect it to just get 20-something FPS. It kind of makes sense because this is essentially half of an RTX 5090, you know, in terms of its specs, and the 5090 was getting like 40 to 50, it drops into the 30s sometimes in some areas, you know, different areas will get you different FPS, of course, in its title, but... This is just ridiculous, guys. This is a $1,000 GPU. I almost forgot to go to the settings, by the way, but we're at 4K resolution, which is a target res for a 5080. Badass settings, DLSS set to full resolution. I will adjust the settings because these are just way too high for everything, basically. Even a 5090 can't handle badass settings very well if you don't use resolution scaling and DLSS and frame generation and so on, you know. Well, hey, let's try to make it playable here before we touch on the other settings, okay? So I'm gonna set it to DLSS performance here first, okay? Because that's what they say, right? We don't need to optimize our game, you just need to use DLSS. Anyway, with DLSS performance, which... to be fair, does look amazing, especially at 4K resolution here in this title. It's DLSS 4 as well. It might be a tad bit softer in some areas, but it's not noticeable, and it brings our FPS up to like 50s and close to 60 FPS sometimes, which is pretty incredible. But the thing is, guys, also it is stuttering, and I am using 100 gigabytes of shader cache in the Nvidia control panel, by the way. Some of you told me, yeah, that makes it so much smoother and so on. It might... Once we load all of the shaders and everything that there is to load, it might actually get a little bit smoother. But as I was saying, the stuttering issue is still going to be there even if you do that, especially if you reinstall your drivers, which I always do before making these videos, of course, because I swap GPUs a lot and I use DDU. And yeah, it's still going to have little stutters here and there. That frame time graph isn't really the most stable. You can see micro stuttering there, dropping our 1% lows. I just started counting them so you can see it. Yeah, 34 1% lows there, with that little spike in the frame time graph. These are normal things that we find in lots of UE5 titles, so no surprise that it's here, given that they didn't bother optimizing the game, right? At this point, I'm not even too mad because I was expecting it. I was more mad with like the 5090 video and the 4060 video and so on, and 5070 Ti. It's just ridiculous. Like a 5070 Ti is also a really strong GPU. It's often 15% slower than this one, the 5080. So these are fast cards, even for 4K gaming. And that 5070 Ti at 1080p resolution was getting 40 to 50 FPS. 1080p, badass settings. Again, yeah, it's badass settings, but even on badass settings, it doesn't look like incredible. Like, it does look great. Not gonna lie, I like the reflections on the guns as well, which are still there with screen space reflections. If you disable the lumen reflections, by the way, by setting the reflections quality to low. Okay, so that's possible. But yeah, the game does look good. The color palette is awesome. And the game is fun. I've been testing it out here with you guys, and I've been having a lot of fun playing it. But it just sucks that it runs so poorly and inconsistently. Like, look at this. What happened there? Where did that stutter come from? It's a real big shame that you spend so much money on a PC and this is what the developers feed you. Basically, they're like, yeah, go ahead, enable the frame generations and so on in DLSSs and call it a day and let's not optimize anything, right? Anyway, this is around 60 FPS with performance DLSS, so you can still use the maximum settings at 4K resolution if you wish to. Now let's try it with frame generation 2 times as well with these settings. All right, it was applying there. That's why it stuttered a little bit. And just like we saw with some other GPUs that I've tested so far, we started with 50 to 60 FPS, baseline FPS, right? And above 60 sometimes. So that means that you enable frame generation, and it's going to be really smooth with 90-ish frames per second. Input lag-wise, it is completely fine as well. So I see why they say, oh yeah, just use frame generation and call it a day, because it actually works really well here in this game, in my opinion. It's one of the best implementations of it so far. But this is still a big shame. Oh boy, wait. Oh, I didn't know that you were here. It's a turret, actually. Who put it there? All right, anyway, we got it. It's a big shame because the games should be optimized without frame generation in mind, without DLSS in mind, and there is no excuse for this one in particular because of its graphics, right? It's nothing outstanding. It looks good again, but it's not like Crysis. Remember when Crysis came out, 2007? Lots of you probably won't remember. I don't remember, but I have read a lot of things about it, of course, and watched some videos as well. I'm very curious about that stuff. That game just melted, not literally. GPUs only melt literally these days. That game melted GPUs at the time. The performance was terrible, but the game looked like nothing that we had seen previously. You know, and these days, I mean, you look at this one, it performs very poorly on high-end stuff, kind of like Crysis did back in those days. But does it look like a true next-generation title? Does it look like the best game that you've ever seen so far by a mile or a kilometer? Because kilometers are better ways to calculate the distances, of course. But yeah, guys, does it... I think we've seen better looking games. All right, and this performs worse than many of them. Anyway, what is this weapon? I actually chose different weapons and I haven't even tried some of them, like this sniper rifle. All right, interesting. Okay, oh, that's an interesting reload as well. So yeah, the game is very playable like this. I can enjoy it, obviously. You will be able to enjoy it at badass settings here and for 4K resolution, yes. Internally, it's 1080p being upscaled to 4K with DLSS 4, but again, it looks really, really good. The only complaint that I have here is maybe some of those edges on trees and vegetation are a little bit fuzzy, but they're still like that, just less emphasized at native resolution. This is just to say and show you guys that you can still play on badass settings if you really want to, but I think you should optimize your settings. And we're going to try the Benchmark King's optimized settings in just a little bit so we can see major performance gains and we don't rely as much on frame generation, all right? Because a lot of people won't like frame generation. I, for example, am fine with this amount of input lag that we're getting at the moment, you know, with 100 FPS, FG 2 times, but some people won't be fine with that. But I'm going to try it with 4 times frame generation. Remember that the baseline FPS were 50-ish, 60s sometimes, you know. With 4 times FG over that baseline FPS, you get around 180s, 170s, as you can see there. This is actually really smooth on a high refresh rate panel, guys. You can see like 170s there, 160s sometimes, dropping into the 150s as well in worst case scenarios, but it is very smooth, but there is a little bit more added artifacting and input lag at the same time. Ooh, interesting. We should definitely go there and try to fight the bastard inside. Let's see, where is he? Let's see if the FPS drop as well with a lot of effects on screen and fighting effects and so on. This is the real boss here. Alright, so he doesn't lose a lot of his shields, by the way. Look at that. Yeah, we're gonna spend a lot of bullets here in this one, but that's fine. That's fine, as long as we can do this, and as long as the loot is great. I'm totally okay with that. Let's kill that one as well. So, in terms of, like, the mouse movements and so on, and the snappiness of it, input lag-wise, it actually feels pretty good. Better than I expected from 4 times frame generation here. It's, once again, that case of this game working pretty well with frame generation in terms of input lag and in terms of the visuals at the same time. Oh, this is going to be very hard, actually. That's what she said. Okay, come on. Kill one of them. Let's go. There we go. Go back up on our feet. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Wait a second. I can... Oh, wait. I forget that I can do this. Come on. Come on. Oh, there he is. He exploded again into some blue electricity. Let's go. All right. Come on. Come on. We're fighting each other with like melee or whatever. Let's go again, guys. Let's go again, guys. Bam. All right. Oh, no. I'm almost dying. I'm almost dying. I need to heal myself. Okay. Come on. Oh, boy. So we're almost there. Erecting his shield. Let's go. Okay. Are we good? No! I left the dome by mistake. I was walking backwards. Oh, this is so terrible, dude. Oh, man. What is that? Oh, that's very interesting over there. Oh, we've been there already, actually, in the video, I think. I've liberated this outpost. Liberated. I'm not sure if you liberate things here, like in Far Cry, you know, but whatever, guys. So yeah, this is a pretty good experience still with the 5080. It should be, right? I think it's also a little bit smoother than it was before, now that we've loaded a bunch of shaders. Come on. Come on. Let's go. So we need to kill all of these guys again, apparently. Wait a second, let me go with this one. Alright, it's a nice weapon here. Set them on fire as well, because I got some damage boosts whenever I set them on fire. Let's go. Come on. Almost. Good stuff, good stuff. And he dropped some good things as well. Nice. Alright. What is that weapon? That was so huge. Okay. Alright. Also, yeah, I keep forgetting that I do have these grenades here. I missed completely, by the way. Come on. Let's go. Let's just get rid of all of these bastards here. And then I'll try some optimized settings, okay? Here we go. Throw that out. Oh, he also threw something at us. Interesting. This guy's level 11. I'm level 10 at the moment. Oh, we leveled up already. I started this video at level 9. Come on. Heal. Let's go. Get out of here. So yeah, you can see it's playable for sure. Like, it should be playable, obviously, on a freaking RTX 5080. There's no question about it. But it's still very underwhelming that we need to utilize all of these technologies combined to have a good experience. Let's go back to native resolution here, okay? And no frame generation. And now I'm gonna utilize the optimized settings from Benchmark King. Alright, we're back here after a fresh restart of the game, and it compiled the shaders again, and we're at 4K resolution still. It says badass there, but we have adjusted all of the settings. We're back to native resolution without frame generation, and these are the Benchmark King's optimized settings with an emphasis on quality since we have a 5080 here. So some of these settings could be on either medium or high, and I chose to set them to high because of the GPU that we're testing here today. It's very fast. And as you can see, we're now back to native resolution. DLAA here, and instead of getting those 20s FPS wise, you know, this is a much better experience. Obviously it's still not what it should have been on a GPU of this caliber, right? But at least it's playable from the get-go, even if you don't want to utilize any frame generation or DLSS. And I think with DLSS performance, for example, it should stay above 60 FPS the entire time, which is definitely how you want to play the game, of course. And if you don't like frame generation, well, even better, because previously it was 50 to 60, and now it will be 60 plus all of the time. Still dropping into the 30s, as you can see, guys, and getting like 40 FPS average most of the time. Fighting all of these guys here, but it is much more stable than 20s. I mean, previously when we started the video, it was absolutely 100% unplayable. Now it's not a slideshow, so hey, we can drop some settings and make it quite a bit better, apparently. Let's try it with quality DLSS first, alright? This puts us up into the 70s, and it looks basically the same as native resolution here. So you don't even need to go down to performance DLSS if you don't want to. In terms of frame times, also a little bit smoother than it was with 40-ish frames per second. So we're not seeing as many of those bigger spikes happening, you know. Come on. There we go. All right, what do you have for me? Nothing. Okay, this guy is a fat boy, but we shall fight him with this. Okay, shotgun to the face. Here we go. All right, they're still here. Come on. Let me just try to get that guy over there. 3 shots will do it. That guy over there. Can I headshot him from here? Maybe not. Yeah, he's too far away. He even falls to the ground when we shoot at him. That's really nice, actually. I love the ragdolls in this game. 60s now. Dropping down sometimes into the lower 60s. But yeah, it's much more stable. You could use frame generation on top of this as well. And it will be very smooth, of course. 100 FPS probably on 2 times. Let me try that out. So here we go. It's going to be a little bit less input lag than with badass settings, performance DLSS plus frame generation, and also a little bit sharper of an image quality since this is quality DLSS and not performance. So it's upscaling from 1440p to 4K instead of 1080p to 4K. All right, I really want to get out of this place. You know, big stutter there when the guy exploded. So those shader compilation stutters will still happen from time to time whenever the game needs to compile things, even though it's spending more time in the shader compilation. Like when the game launched, it would take like 2 minutes, and now it's much more than 2 minutes, about like 5 minutes, so double the time roughly of what it was at release. But it still has these little micro stutters, and it still has bigger stutters from time to time, so it's not that great still. They still need to improve this a lot. 120 FPS with frame generation 2 times. Definitely the way to go, in my opinion, if you are playing this game at 4K resolution. But I would likely still drop it down to like performance DLSS because it looks so damn good here in this particular title. So I'm going to turn off frame generation now, do performance DLSS here. And look at that. Now instead of getting 70s and 60s, we're up into the 80s and probably even touching 90 FPS. Yeah, look at that. 90s, obviously when fighting enemies and so on, it's going to become a little bit more intensive than here because nothing is happening basically, but this is a pretty intensive area. It has a lot of vegetation around us, so that's pretty intensive, of course, in Unreal Engine 5. Come on. Come on. Kill the bastards. They just don't die, but they also don't do anything to us. Big stutter there. Probably loading the death animation from this thing or whatever. Yeah, you need to load everything. So that's one of the things that I don't understand with all of the shader compilation. Why does it still need to compile them while you're playing the game? That makes no sense. Oh boy. Also, VRAM allocation did drop by quite a lot right now with these settings, and also with performance DLSS here, because it's rendering at a low resolution, of course. But on Badass, it was at like 14 and a half gigabytes, which is still fine with a 16 gigabyte GPU. But yeah, we see now it's dropping to 11 gigabytes with very similar visuals, might I add. Even with a low setting on the reflections, it still has reflections on the gun. As you can see, they're not accurate because they're not lumen reflections anymore. These are screen space, but who cares? I mean, I'm not going to stay here and see if the reflections are all accurate and so on. Like, I don't care. It just looks pretty and shiny, and that's all for me. That's enough, basically, for me. That frame time is still very inconsistent. It has a lot of micro stutters. If I start counting the FPS here, you can see them. The frame time graph, whenever there's a bigger spike, yeah, the 1% lows do drop a bit, as you can see. But hey, it's more stable than it was at 20 FPS, so yay, I guess. Right? And it's a little bit better than with quality DLSS. And I even forgot that we were at performance DLSS since this looks so good. I thought we were still on quality for a second there. All right, I needed to double check. So that's how good DLSS looks here and works in this title. So definitely utilize it here on these optimized settings, you know, with DLSS performance. I wouldn't have a problem with that. And now, if you don't like frame generation, at least you get 60 plus 100% of the time. But if you do like frame generation, let's see it with 2 times frame gen. Input lag-wise, even snappier than before. I think at this point, it's so snappy that I'm not even feeling the input lag at this point, guys. Coming from 80 to 90 FPS baseline into the 130s here with FG. The input lag is not noticeable and it's absolutely negligible at this point. So honestly, I would just enable frame generation. Even if you don't like frame generation because of the added input lag, it's not noticeable right now. Reflex is doing a great job at removing that, and it just makes your game smoother. This works really well. I can even do micro adjustments on my aim, you know, on my sights here when I'm moving and shooting at these guys. Yeah, no problems. This feels a lot better than what we saw previously with the frame generation with badass settings and performance DLSS as well. So this is definitely the way to play this game, guys, with a 5080. Again, it's a shame that we need to drop things down so much in terms of upscaling or internal resolution of the upscalers and use frame generation at the same time to achieve this, because I feel like with these graphics we should be getting these FPS without those technologies. Oh boy, lots of loot here as well. Nice stuff. I sold a bunch of things before I started recording this video today, so I have space to pick up all of these that we come across. That's pretty nice. And yeah, you know what? With 80 to 90 FPS baseline without the frame generation, we could also utilize 4 times frame generation without as much artifacting as before. So let's use FG 4 times here. Looking great. I still haven't moved my mouse, but I'm going to do it for the first time here. Yeah. In terms of the frame generation input lag here with 4 times, because the baseline FPS were so high already, this is working phenomenally well. Damn. This is really good, actually. All right, so I can see that things are a little bit softer in some areas with the 4 times FG compared to 2 times FG. And there are definitely a few more artifacts around the gun, you know, when moving like this. It's very minor, but it is there. It's really hard to notice at these frame rates. And if you have a 240 Hz monitor, 5080 will still be able to handle that in this particular title, which is crazy to see. I mean, I really like these technologies, right? They do improve our gaming experiences a lot. I just hate when developers rely on them. Anyway, but hey, the fact that we can get 200 plus, we're not fighting anyone at the moment though, but it shouldn't really drop too much, even from 200. I think it's going to drop like to the low 200s sometimes. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty good experience here with DLSS. Still, like, the stutters are still here, as you saw. It's just happened, one of those right now, the big ones. And that can kill and will kill the experience for a lot of people. I really don't like that, so... Still not perfect, even though we're getting 200 plus FPS pretty much at all times with frame generation. And even though the frame generation input lag right now... Oh, this is a big boy over here. Is really low. Alright. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Wait. Oh boy, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I went to do this. Wait. Bam! There we go. Did this do anything to him? I don't think so. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah, even though performance is really good, we still got those little stutters that are annoying. And we still got shader compilation issues and so on. Oh, should we do this, guys? You know what? I'm going to do that, but at 1440p resolution, because we need to test 1440p as well. So I'm going to go back to full resolution here, which is DLAA, frame generation turned off, and let's go to the basic settings here, drop it down to 2560 by 1440. There we go. This is it. All right, still with the optimized settings. I'm not going to test the badass settings here at 1440p. I guess it would be interesting to check out, but you shouldn't really utilize them. You know, it's ridiculous that I'm saying this with a $1,000 GPU, but yeah, you need to drop down some settings and make sacrifices. Oh man, it's so awful, actually. Anyway, so these FPS that we're getting at the moment, guys, 70s, 80s, 60s at times, they're decent. The 1% lows, however, are still pretty bad because of the micro stuttering here in this game. And we're not really loading anything new, right? We're just running around this area with some water. Shooting at the bastard there. Alright, come on. Oh man, I'm missing some of the shots. Come on. Come on. Let's go. Oh, we're gonna be here forever. He has a ton of HP once again. Like these guys. I feel like these are meant to be played with more people, right? Because one person alone versus these bosses in the middle of the map. It's just not gonna happen, unfortunately. Come on, okay. Yeah, that takes a lot of HP off of him. I need to heal myself, though. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Bam! Did it work? I don't think that worked, actually. What is going on? Why is it not working? Alright, it was bugged or something. Let's go. Okay. But yeah, at 1440p native resolution with optimized settings. These are optimized settings on a 5080. We're getting FPS and performance that should be from what? 4070? 40? Yeah, I guess, yeah. 4070 should be the one getting this kind of performance here. Alright, there we go. We're back up. Oh boy. Let's go. He's half HP at the moment. I think that's the HP, right? The big bar. Big fat bar. Oh boy. On top. Come on. Come on. Come on. I need a kill. I need a kill. Damn it, bro. Alright, we're back here. I don't even know where we are now. I guess we were in that direction. I don't remember, honestly. But yeah, we're getting like 70s, 80s. It's fine at native 1440p resolution, but it still has a lot of micro stuttering, and it's more noticeable when you're not using frame generation as well. So really poor. Again, really poor optimization and poor performance for the GPU that we're utilizing. Like, this is a very high-end card. Anyway, I'm not going to be using upscaling here because that's not needed. The baseline FPS are already good enough for us to enable frame generation. So let's do 2 times first. And it should bring things up into the, yep, exactly, 130s, 120s. And in terms of input lag, yeah, with those baseline FPS, like 70 plus, this works extremely well, the frame gen here in this one. So absolutely fine of an experience here. I could play the game. The input lag isn't even noticeable at this point. Let's go. Was I using... Wait, what was the weapon that I was using just now? Oh, I was using a shotgun for a long range. Oh, man. No wonder that was taking a while to kill the bastard. But yeah, guys, 130s, 120s, it's absolutely fine. It's good for like a 1440p, 144 hertz display or 165 hertz display as well. This bastard's pretty big, actually. A very fat boy. He has an acid shooting shotgun or whatever, right? Look at that. Okay. Oh, he fell. Look at that. I really like those little details, though. I don't get tired of seeing them and saying this, but yeah, whenever you're shooting at them and they just go back like that, it feels like your bullets are actually doing a lot more than they are. Yeah, I am enjoying this, guys. Aside from the stutters, which I hate and despise, I feel like no game should come out with stutters. They should fix that in beta or something like that. And you know what? That's the thing about this game. It kind of feels like a beta game. It shouldn't have been released in this state. Maybe in early access, but I also don't like early access stuff. It's just like cash grabs before they optimize their game. They're already receiving the money for it, and yeah, I mean, sometimes it makes sense, of course, but in a big studio like this, you know, and a big game like Borderlands, I don't think it has a place. All right, you know what? Let's try it with 4 times FG as well. At this point, I already know what to expect. 200 plus or something like that. Yep, 270s around here. So very similar to what we were seeing at 4K resolution with performance DLSS and frame generation. It's going to be really smooth. It's going to be really responsive as well. Well, not really smooth. It's going to be really smooth when it's not stuttering. Let's emphasize that because it's still going to stutter quite a bit sometimes. It's looking a little bit softer. Once again, you enable frame generation, MFG 4 times especially, and it gets a little bit softer. And around the gun, there's still that little halo effect with a tiny bit of pixelation there and duplication, maybe a ghosting. It's just a tiny bit of it. I think if you have a 240 Hz 1440p monitor, this is going to be pretty good of an experience there. Another one here. Come on. Come on. I'm gonna throw a grenade. See what it does. Oh, this doesn't explode on impact. Come on. And it doesn't do anything. Like, it takes way too long to explode, dude. Damn. Ooh. That one's pretty. But it's still not rare. So, probably not very good. Alright, 260s. Okay. Alright. Let's open these up over here. Come on, kill the bastards. They just keep on coming, right? Jesus. Also, yeah, the reflections. Look at that. It's so shiny still. It looks good. Oh, we can see a lot of duplication here. Those ghosting effects that I was telling you about with this background here, super noticeable. So that's it for 1440p resolution. Let's turn off the frame generation again and maybe try it at 1080p for a little bit as well. I'm not sure if a lot of people, I hope a lot of people aren't playing at 1080p with 5080, but this is it, guys. With optimized settings, it gets around 100 frames per second. What I would think a 4060 Ti would get with such graphics. Yeah, it doesn't look super impressive at 1080p, especially. It's pretty blurry at this point, but I'm using a 4K monitor here, so that's probably why. On a native 1080p monitor, it will look good, but again, in terms of the graphical quality itself, it shouldn't be performing like this on a freaking 5080 with optimized settings as well. Don't forget about that, because this game at 1080p was dropping into the 70s, yeah, on the 5090 at badass settings. Now, obviously, with this amount of FPS, enabling frame generation will just bump things up by a whole lot again. So 180s, 170s, 160s sometimes here with 2 times frame generation. So good for 165 hertz, even 180 hertz monitors at 1080p resolution. Look at that. Yeah, and also 4 times frame generation. Let's try that out. It gets you 300 plus. That's absolutely ridiculous at this point. But hey, there are 360 hertz 1080p monitors, even higher than that sometimes. And if that's you, if you have one of those monitors with a 5080, you can get a really, really smooth experience when it's not stuttering. But let's disable the frame generation now and set it back to badass settings. So all of these settings that are in orange were different on the optimized settings. They were lower. But I will restart the game. Let's check this out. Okay, we're back here, guys. Look at this. It's dropping from 60 FPS on a 5080 at 1080p badass settings. See, that's why I say badass settings are just way too much for everything. 1080p, badass. Yep. It gets probably like 60 average, but once you start getting into fights and so on with a lot of enemies and effects and particles flying over everywhere, and yeah, it will likely drop into the 50s and 40s maybe. Again, it's just another case of the graphics don't justify the performance here. It's just so badly optimized, guys. Such a big shame. Look at this. 60s, 50s at times. Well, that's enough. Let's go back to 1440p resolution. See it on badass settings, 40s. See, it shouldn't even be getting these FPS at 4K native resolution with maximum settings, in my opinion, let alone at 1440p. Alright, this is a much easier to run resolution than 4K, obviously, and yeah, a 5080 is struggling. A 5080, which has a target resolution from Nvidia at 4K resolution. This is a 4K gaming GPU. Anyway, guys, that's been it for this one. Thanks very much for watching. Use optimized settings. Preferably wait a couple of months for more patches to smooth out the gameplay at the very least and remove most of the stutters, because that's really annoying. It's always happening, as you can see the frame time there. Hope you guys have a great day and week, and I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.